Hey, what's up guys, it's Bakes and thanks for joining me for another one of my random horror reviews. For today's episode we have the film Cabin Fever 2 Spring Fever from the year 2009. For those who are unaware, I've also done a review of the first Cabin Fever. I actually did it not too long ago, so it's up on my channel if you want to check that out also. If I remember, I'll put it in the description below too, but that's for anyone who wants to check out that video too. But as I said, today's episode is Cabin Fever 2 Spring Fever, this time directed by Ty West, where the first film was directed by Eli Roth. But let's get into the plot quickly of Cabin Fever 2 before we get into my thoughts of it. So the plot for Cabin Fever 2, a little bit of a spoiler for the first movie for those who haven't seen it, so sorry, heads up. But the infected water is now getting bottled and shipped out to this local town for them to drink, obviously. And in this local town is a high school where the, spring dance or prom or whatever it is going down, and the students start to get infected. So I'm just sort of going to leave it very basic for the plot, and let's get into my thoughts of Cabin Fever 2. So my thoughts on this movie, it definitely is a weak sequel. I feel like it is a major step down from the first movie because I really like the OG Cabin Fever. But not to say this movie's bad, at least it's somewhat entertaining. As I said, it just is a major step down from the first one. This movie is sort of set up like one of those high school buddy comedies, but not a very good one. It does try to push the humor a lot more in this one than what the first one does. The first one, the comedy actually works very well. It's very dark, but it suits the vibe of the movie. This one, they just try and push it way over the top. They try to ramp up a lot of things in this movie, but unfortunately it doesn't really work for me, and as I was mentioning, the humor doesn't quite land. This movie also just feels like a bunch of short stories happening that all relate to this infection and the water and, this dance going on, and it's got so many characters that we're following, it almost becomes too hard to keep track of what's going on and has me sort of checking out at parts. Some of the stories are better than others, and eventually they all tie in together at this dance, and, this company coming in to, keep the school locked down so the infection doesn't get out. It all sort of comes together there at the end, but to me I just feel like there's too much going on in this movie and not a lot of it is working. As I mentioned before, they try and ramp up everything in this movie, and the disgusting scenes and gore are no exception. However, in this movie, even though they are ramped up more and they're a bit more full on, I find them to be less effective because it's so over the top, it just becomes ridiculous, and yeah, it's fun and it's batshit crazy, but as I said, it's less effective, because in the first movie, it's almost like, okay, who's gonna get the infection next? And I always bring up that scene of the girl shaving her legs. She's starting to feel queasy, and each time the razor goes up, more and more flesh comes off, and to me that's grosser and it feels more effective. Here, it's just people vomiting blood and limbs falling off, and it's played for humor, and it's meant to be over the top and ridiculous, but I just found it to be less effective, even though, as I said, it's more ramped up. Another thing that feels less effective in this movie is the mystery of the origin of where this infection comes from, because in the first movie it really is a mystery because there's so many seeds planted of where the origin of this infection could come from. The characters don't know, you don't know, they don't know how to avoid it because they're not sure where it's from. And as I said at the start of the movie, all these seeds are planted and it leaves you with so many options. However, obviously this one being the sequel, most people would have seen the first movie first, so you do know that it's because of the water. As I said, I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't seen this movie, but it's in the water. So it kind of makes it a bit pointless when they, drop little red herrings. They don't commit to these red herrings too much, and, they try to throw you off course occasionally. But as I said, it's not too effective. At the end of the day, it feels kind of stupid. But it is fun to see these characters drink the water and then just go, yep, you're going to have a gruesome death in about 15 minutes. That's sort of fun to do as well, but yeah, I just feel like it's less effective with the mystery in this one. The goofy kid cop from the first movie shows up again in this one. It's not like he's my favourite character of all time, but he was a fun inclusion, especially when, you're going with a more over-the-top and comedic approach with this movie this time round. He definitely is suited for a movie more so up that alley, so I guess he was a good inclusion also. So at the end of the day, to me, Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever, just sort of feels like a fan-made sequel by someone who like really loved the OG Cabin Fever. Obviously a lesser budget, but still had enough talent and resources to make something, you know, at least watchable. Because as I said, this movie's not bad, it just is disappointing that, to me, at least this is a major step down from the first one. As I said, this movie to me just feels like a bunch of things happening that, you know, tie up at the end, but, you know, the entertainment factor wavers all the way through, you know, depending on which storyline we're following. So let me get to my rating for Cabin Fever 2 now. I am going to give Cabin Fever 2 Spring Fever from 2009 a 3.5. You know, if you want some gross out fun where the gore is over the top and everything's gruesome and the storyline is, you know, nothing amazing, you're not there for the story, you're just there for over the top gore and kills, this can be fun for you. But as I said, just knowing how good the first Cabin Fever is, I really do enjoy that movie. This one is more so just disappointing than anything. So as I said, a 3.5 for Cabin Fever 2. So thank you guys for joining me for this review today. If today's review felt a little bit more rushed and less descriptive than my normal reviews, that's because it kind of is, because I actually watched this movie maybe 3 weeks ago and I thought I did a review of it already, and then I went to upload it and it turns out I didn't. So everything isn't really too fresh in my mind with this movie, especially as I said, it wasn't really something I loved watching. It was okay, it was decent, but you know, it didn't really stick in my mind over these past 3 weeks, and I've been watching stuff in between, so it was a little bit vague, but hopefully I still did a somewhat decent review. If you're new to my channel, I'm sorry, because I feel like that wasn't the greatest, but I feel like I've done other good videos, so maybe go to my channel and check them out. But thank you guys for watching me again. Hopefully I'll have some more content coming your way soon, and again, thank you. Peace.